Good morning. I love hearing that. I'm Trina Marlowe. My pronouns are she, her, and along with Reverend Krista Taves, welcome to Eliot Chapel. Joining us today for Sunday Pastoral Care is Carl Serbel, if something is weighing on your heart. If you have young children staying with you in the service and they get restless, you may take them into Fellowship Hall, where there's a live feed of the service and they can run all they want. There are snacks for the kids after service in Adams Hall, and you're welcome to take your younger children to the playground. A very special welcome to all of our guests today. Thank you for being here. Yvonne Serbel and Tim Gardner are our welcome person for this service, and they can answer any questions about our congregation and the church at large. Please look for them in Adams Hall after the service. There are guest forms at both entrances to the sanctuary and at the QR code on the screen, so we can stay in touch. If you join us for coffee hour, please take a blue cup so we'll be sure to welcome you. If you're a member or friend, look for the blue cups and be sure to say hi to our guest. Our online coffee hour is this afternoon at 1:30. And now, I invite you to join in our welcome today by responding with, "You are welcome here," at the end of each statement. If you are Black, brown, white, indigenous, APIA, whatever your origins, you are welcome here. If you are an immigrant, a refugee, or a person without documentation, you are welcome here. If you believe in God all the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. If you have a disability, visible or invisible, or close enough. If you have been here 100 times or just came today, you are welcome here. If you want for nothing or struggle each day to make it through, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or what your gender identity, you are welcome here. For this is a community of diversity, of love, and justice, and it is good to be together. Let us enter into the spirit of worship. May we light this chalice this morning to remind us of the power and the beauty of balance and contrast. It is darkness that makes the flame of a single candle so powerful, and light that deepens these shadows in turn. A chalice flame is a meeting point, the union of the refuge, safety, and incredible beauty of darkness, and the warmth, the assurance, and the joy of light. May this act of lighting our chalice remind us that we are stronger together in all the complexities and disagreements of relationship because we are different and because we are one.
Today is also winter solstice, which is the darkest, the longest night, and the shortest day of the year. And many people in this congregation are drawn to earth-centered traditions, to paganism, and so we will be calling in the four directions in honor of that faith tradition which informs this day. So we welcome the south, spirit of the air, which brings us wisdom and knowledge and grace. We welcome the south, the spirit of the fire, which gives us compassion and energy and fire and action. We welcome the spirit of the west, water, which transforms us all the time. We are never unchanged in the presence of water. And finally, we welcome the north, the spirit of the earth, for its steadfast and steady presence.
Please rise and body your spirit for our opening hymn, number 235, Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly, and remain standing for our congregational covenant.
Deck the hall with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season, la 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 la. We are gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, fa la 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 la. Like a Yuletide treasure, fa la 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 la. Fast away the old year passes, fa la 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 la. Hail the new ye lads and lasses, fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather, fa la 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 la.
Today's offering will be shared with congregational covenant. Sorry, it's been a busy morning. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with open mind and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, and to find ways to improve our church for all members and friends. Please be seated. Today's offering will be shared with Room at the End. Eliot has been supporting this organization for decades. It serves homeless families, especially those impacted by domestic violence. Before the pandemic, we hosted these families in our church one night a week. Room at the Inn is now centralized, but we remain steadfast in our commitment to its mission. You may give through the collection plate or by using the QR code on the screen and in the order service, or you can go to Eliot Chapel's giving page on our website. Let us now give generously to our community. Dedication of these gifts to the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action. We dedicate our lives, and these are offerings.
I would like to invite our children and the young at heart to come forward for our time for all ages. Oops. Just so you know what's coming. Here, this is for you. There you go. Everyone gets a candle. Today, we are going to tell a very, very old story in a bit of a new way. This is a story of the Oak King and the Holly King and how they are responsible for the changing of the seasons. But first, we have our props, and I want you all to turn on your light, right, and cover it with your hand for now. And I'm going to tell you when it's time to uncover the light and put it way up high. You want to practice uncovering the light? Putting it way up high. Here you go. All right. So now you are all ready for the story. We're going to turn around so we can see the Holly King and the Oak King. Let us begin.
All that backwards.
Brothers. There we go. And like many brothers, they struggled with each other for ascendance and power. One king was a king of the forces of light, life, and warmth. Yay!
Yay!
He wore a crown made of green oak branches and brought with him all growth and vitality, fertility, and abundance. He was called the Oak King. His brother was the king of the forces of death, cold, and darkness. Ooh. He wore a crown made of the prickly holly branches and brought with him all withering and decay, stillness, and hibernation. He was called the Holly King. Each year, the Oak King would grow strong and mighty during his time of dominance.
When I am in my power, the light gradually increases, bringing with it warmth and abundance.
Lift your lights.
But each year, at the height of his power, he would be thrown down by the Holly King.
Cover your lights.
When I am in my power, the light gradually wanes, and as it does, the cold comes and the land goes dormant.
But at the height of the Holly King's power, he would be challenged again by the Oak King,
Lift your lights.
and the cycle would repeat again and again.
Cover your lights. Lift your lights.
Soon, there came a race of beings known as people.
Cover your lights.
The people watched this cycle and began to take sides. The people loved light and warmth,
Yay. Oops, yay.
and they feared darkness and cold. And so each year, they would celebrate the victory of the Oak King. But they would mourn the victory of the Holly King. When the two struggled with each other, the people would lend the strength of their voices and their bodies, their minds, and their spirits to the Oak King.
Lift your lights. Yay.
But the Holly King was without their support. And time went by.
Oh king, oh king, oh king, oh king, oh king.
Over time, the people began to invent ways to fight darkness in the cold. Shiny flashlights. They could spend all of their time in the light they had created, and they could be warm all year long. But their efforts were not without consequences. The people began to notice that the darkness was disappearing from the land, driven out by millions of lights the people had created. Animals, birds, plants, even people began to suffer the effects of light unbalanced by darkness. The whole world began to get warmer. Summer started sooner and lasted longer. Ice that had been frozen far longer than the longest memory of the oldest person in the land began to melt. Migrating birds and animals began to be confused about when to begin the migration flights. Plants found themselves rooted in climates that no longer supplied their needs. The air was changing, and the winds that had brought rain and taken it away again began to flow in unexpected directions, causing drought here and flood there. The people began to see that they had altered the balance of the whole world. The Holly King was dying.
Help me!
My brother!
What would happen if the balance continued to be destroyed? Could they even survive in a world without the Holly King? And in the world of the gods, the Oak King realized it too.
Cover your lights.
Though they had been competitors all these many centuries, he realized that he loved his brother and could not live without him. The longest night came, and the Oak King had no heart for the fight. He came open-handed to his brother, who was struggling just to stay on his feet. The Oak King wrapped the Holly King in a tight embrace.
Aww.
And he promised to set aside their enmity and help his brother heal. So on the night when the Oak King usually claimed descendants, he laid the great oak crown on the head of his brother and took his brother's crown. Supporting the other, they went out into the world to see what could be done to restore the balance. And that's the end of the story.
All right, and that ends our story. So we're going to put your tea lights back in the basket and then go to your classes. Let's sing you your classes. Our prayer today is by Jan Richardson from The Cure for Sorrow. And I invite you into the spirit of prayer and meditation as you are willing and able. And as we so often do, let us center and ground ourselves, as you are willing and able, with 3 deep collective breaths. All throughout these months, as the shadows have lengthened, this blessing has been gathering itself, making ready, preparing for this night. It has practiced walking in the dark, traveling with its eyes closed, feeling its way by memory, by touch, by the pull of the moon, even as it wanes. So believe me when I tell you, this blessing will reach you even if you have not light enough to read it. It will find you even though you cannot see it coming. You will know the moment of its arriving by your release of the breath you have held so long, a loosening of the clenching in your hands, of the clutch around your heart, a thinning of the darkness that had drawn itself around you. This blessing does not mean to take the night away, but it knows its hidden roads, knows the resting spots along the path, knows what it means to travel in the company of a friend. Let us enter into a time of silence. Let us speak the names of those we would hold in our love and care. And let us take a moment in honor of Roger Johnson, member of this congregation who passed on Monday, December 15th. So when this blessing comes, take its hand, get up, set out on the road you cannot see. This is the night when you can trust that any direction you go, you will be walking toward the dawn. Amen and blessed be. Let us remain seated for our meditative hymn 55, Dark of Winter.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to to soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Please join me in extinguishing our chalice. Oh. Never mind. I'm a little combobulated today.
Our reading today is by Bridget Anna McNeil. This winter solstice time is no longer celebrated as it once was, with the understanding that this period of descent into our own darkness was so necessary in order to find our light. This modern culture teaches avoidance at a max at this time. Alcohol, lights, shopping, overworking, overspending, bad food, and consumerism. However, in actual fact, winter is so kind. Yes, she points us in her quiet, soft way towards our inner self, towards the darkness and the potential death of what we were. But this journey, if held with care, is essential. She is like a strong teacher that asks you to awaken your inner loving elder or therapist, holding yourself with awareness of forgiveness and allowing yourself to grieve, to cry, rage, laugh, and face what we need to face in order to be freed from the jagged bonds we wrapped around our hearts. Thank you so much. Thank you, David. Today's message is about embracing our radical interdependence, balancing the light and dark within ourselves and the earth, and receiving the blessings that the darkness offers us. And I have to admit that the direction this message took now has absolutely nothing to do with its title, as I had imagined on Tuesday when these things are decided. And the closing hymn fits if you sing Winter Wonderland and imagine the marriage as like a symbol of our radical interdependence. Otherwise, it doesn't really work. But however, please indulge me. Sometimes things go that way when you welcome in the dark. Can you imagine living thousands of years ago and understanding most of what you saw around you as the work of gods and goddesses and spirits? The trees, the animals were animated by spirits. The weather was the work of gods and goddesses. Births, deaths, war and peace, sickness and health, the height of the rivers, the brightness of the sky, the stars up above, all this held in the hands of supernatural kings and queens and spirits. You found your place in the larger rhythm of things by seeing your own life through their rhythms. In what is today Europe, pre-Christian pagan tribes literally understood the changing of the seasons as a struggle between two brothers, the Oak King and the Holly King. And the change of the seasons was not some graceful handoff like, here you go, brother, it's your season. They fought like kings battling for the same kingdom. The Oak King won the battle between winter and summer solstice as the days lengthened. And the Holly King won the battle between summer solstice and winter solstice as the nights lengthened. And in these pre-Christian Northern Hemisphere pagan cultures, today, December 21st, with the longest night of the year, is the day that the Holly King reaches his greatest strength. But from this day on, the Oak King gets stronger every day until he reaches the pinnacle of his strength on June 21st, after which his brother begins to win the battle. And that's the warring cycle, year after year. And in those ancient times, you didn't have a choice about the dark. It came whether you wanted it or not. Fire was the only light humans could create, but even the brightest fire cast shadows. You couldn't fight the dark. You had to respect the dark, prepare for the dark, welcome the dark, because it was too part of the natural way of things and within the warring in your own soul. So these stories of the kings fighting for light and dark helped you understand who you were, what that meant for your daily life, what it meant for your days and your nights, and what it meant even for the way you breathed. Because, of course, these gods and goddesses and all these spirits moved through you as well, not just the trees and the earth and the skies and the animals, but through you. But today it's different. Most of us don't have to be in the dark. Ever, if we don't want to. It's a light switch away. We don't have to be cold, just turn up the furnace. We don't have to spend our falls putting things away so that we can make it through the long nights of the winter. Going back to our wisdom story, things changed when we came into the picture. We liked the light so much that we kept choosing it, even when it was the Holly King's time to take over. And at first, the Oak King loved it. Why wouldn't he? He didn't have to struggle with his brother anymore because with all that light, he was getting stronger and more majestic, and his brother, the Holly King, was getting weaker and weaker. How awesome was that? Except it wasn't. Climatologists have been telling us the story of a world getting warmer for decades, with warnings that what we are experiencing now could have been thwarted if we paid attention sooner and changed our ways, if we had covered our lights for the season that they were supposed to be covered. But the earth is getting warmer, and we're still choosing the light. Weather patterns are changing, migration patterns are changing, species are going extinct, the glaciers are melting and oceans are rising, and our species is still choosing the light. Even the cold snap we had last week, with temperatures dipping into the single digits, the Holly King would tell you that even those extremes are the result of an oak king out of control. The jet stream over the Arctic is weakening as the planet warms, and the bitter Arctic temperatures have these moments where they can swoop down into the low pressure down here, bringing us unusually low temperatures. So even as we bundled up last weekend, the earth was getting warmer. Think about last spring, right? We had this dark, cold, wet spring. And the farmers were waiting for the earth to dry enough to plant. And they planted late, like late May, like into early June. And then what happened the second week of June? Boom, summer started and we were in a heat wave. And all those seeds that had barely taken root were not established enough to survive the burning sun, and they withered away. Here through central Missouri, the crop was an absolute disaster. And even that is a result of the changing weather patterns because of our warming earth. So even though we had a cold, wet spring, it didn't mean that the earth was cooling off. It was still warming. And things are changing faster than we could have imagined, faster than what the climatologists predicted decades ago. And of course we're getting desperate for answers. How do we stop this? How do we turn this around? Can the Oak King just help his brother up and be done with it? There actually are a lot of answers to the problem of our warming planet. We've had them for a long time. We've had the scientific answers. We've had the economic answers. We've even had the political answers. But the Holly King is still struggling to get to his feet. We've run out of time to turn this around. And we are now in a place of not stopping the warming climate, but of harm reduction, trying to slow the pace of the warming. And the Holly King continues to struggle. One of the things we lift up in Unitarian Universalism is interdependence. We don't have one belief about God or eternal life or all the things that most people think religion is about. We don't focus on the question of God or what happens after we die, except to say that whatever your beliefs, measure their truth, measure their power by how they support you being anchored in love and doing good in the world. Our faith roots ethical living in a deep, loving conviction of the radical interdependence of all things. Everything is connected to everything else. Environmentalism is a spiritual practice for many of us. We aspire to a deep respect for the earth. We aspire to a time when ecologically we are living as if we are one with everything. And this oneness means there is no separation between what is sacred and is of the earth. The dichotomy between heaven and earth that you see in some religions just doesn't exist for us, because everything is one. In the way that the Buddha often said that there is no separation between us. There is total oneness. It is the illusion of separateness that keeps us from anchoring in this interdependence and being able to bring back the day when the Holly King once again takes his throne. So for us, everything is sacred. Everything. The animals, the birds, reptiles, fish, the woods, creeks, deserts, oceans, meadows, rivers, lakes, clouds, rocks, sand, soil, the stars above, and our own bodies. The natural world embodies the sacred interdependence of all things. In this way of approaching the sacred, climate change is not just a political failure. It is not just a scientific failure. It is not just an economic failure. It is also a spiritual failure. We have had the answers to global warming for a long, long time. It's no mystery what would stop it and what would slow it down. It's a spiritual failure that has kept our species stuck and dragging down everything with us. So let's go back to our story, and I want to bring a modern perspective to our story this morning of the Oak King and the Holly King. Too much of humanity still clings to the kind of power embodied in those old pagan tales of power over. One brother has to win, one brother has to lose. In some versions of the story, they don't just lose, they die. They actually slaughter each other. And each resurrects when it's time for their ascendance. And that struggle for dominance is power over. And that made sense in a warring community where there were scarce resources and, everything was just what's my kingdom and what's yours. What's my tribes and what's yours. But as we fill the earth with billions of us, and our ability to separate ourselves from the dark has multiplied and multiplied and multiplied, we are being called to embrace a different kind of power embodied by the Oak King through his spiritual awakening. He saw the disturbing changes in the world from having too much light. He saw his brother's suffering, and the two merged in him to this moment of teaching. And in that moment, he shifted from power over to power with. He helped his brother get up and shifted from separation to interdependence. He, the King of Light, literally embraced the darkness by holding his brother in his hands. And what I wonder this morning, on this day of winter solstice with its longest night and shortest day, is what it might look like for us to wrap our arms around the Holly King, place a crown upon his head, and journey with him into the darkness. I want to offer our reading again because it talks about how to journey with darkness. Listen again to these words. The winter solstice time is no longer celebrated as it once was, with the understanding that this period of descent into our own darkness is so necessary in order to find our light. This modern culture teaches avoidance at a max at this time. Alcohol, lights, shopping, overworking, overspending, bad food, and consumerism. However, in fact, actual winter is so kind. Yes, she points us in her quiet, soft way towards our inner self, towards darkness and the potential death of what we were. But if this journey is held with care, it is essential. She is like a strong teacher that asks you to awaken your inner loving elder or therapist, holding in yourself with awareness of forgiveness and allowing yourself to grieve, to cry, to rage, to laugh, and face what we need to face in order to be freed from the jagged bonds we wrapped around our hearts. We run from so many things. We run from hard feelings. We run from anxiety and sadness. We run from grief and helplessness. We run from doubt and fear. And oh, we run from boredom. We run from the possibility of failure, all those jagged bonds holding us back from the beating of our hearts. We run to feel safer, but ironically, the more we run, the more vulnerable we are when there isn't a light to flick on and banish the hard things into the shadows. The darkness draws them nearer and nearer. One of the things I often do when I get home after dark, which I do a lot because, there's lots of evening meetings here, is I stand under the night sky after being inside in the office all day and then in my car, and before going into the warmth of the home, I just stand there and I look up. In the summer, the night is loud with crickets and cicadas and tree frogs. But in the winter, the night is quiet and still. The only breath might be the wind rustling through the empty branches. And in that moment of standing in the winter dark, my mind gets quieter. And all the to-do lists start slipping away. And I get closer to a sense of reverence for the majesty of the universe. All the things we run from, the hard things, they actually carry within themselves the majesty of the universe. They are windows into the deepest place inside us. They are our teachers. They are our guides. They show us what inside us needs to die so that something new can be reborn. They show us what our deepest cares are. They help us decide what is worth keeping and what is worth letting go. And even when those hard feelings carry pain, they show us how our love is yearning to be channeled. If we can embrace the dark, embrace the winter of the soul, that is the answer to spring, for one has to empty to have room for fullness. You can't get to spring if you don't allow the winter to empty you. And the way we're living, with this power over and our addiction to light, we just keep adding more and more and more, and there's no room for clearing. There's no room for new birth. Embracing the dark makes this possible. Now you might be wondering, am I really proposing that this embrace of the dark is an answer to our collective spiritual failure to stop climate change? Yes, I am. Saving our earth is more than a technical challenge. If it was just that, we would have done it decades ago. But what's keeping us from the answers that are already there is our collective, misguided spirit of power over, where this earth is just one more kingdom to bring under our control. The winter darkness allows us to let that misguided spirit die, so that we can find a new path. It is a tall order. It is. We can't run away from that. But if we can embrace each other in the interdependence of darkness and light and crown each other with oak and holly, we will find our way. May it be so. Amen and blessed be. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Winter Wonderland.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman, then pretend pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, I am married, we'll say, no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland.
Spirit of earth, of steadfastness and presence, we release you so that you may live in our hearts. Spirit of water that transforms everything it touches, may you live in our bodies. Spirit of the air, of east, of wisdom and knowledge, may you live in our minds. Oh, that's a fire. Air. And spirit of the fire, may your passion and your brilliance and your energy and your conviction live in us, all of us. Amen.
Please join me in extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We will keep a place for you wherever you may go. We'll sustain this home of faith and love you've come to know. Go in peace, bring hope to hearts that yearn. We will keep a place for you till you return.
And now, may the Spirit of life hold you, may love bless you, and may joy find a place in your days. Love to you all. Go in peace.